Hey everyone, let's talk about Final Fantasy XVI. So I have not been this excited for a game in a very long time, and a big part of the reason for that is Naoki Yoshida and his team. So for the past 10 years, they have consistently been nailing it with Final Fantasy XIV, so there is a proven track record here. And every new trailer and announcement just adds on to that excitement. Now, something that has really been sticking out to me is just how amazing the visuals are. I still remember when the first trailer dropped, all those years ago, the graphics got some criticism. But this just goes to show just how early into development that actually was. You know, there used to be a time that whenever Square released a game, it would be a showcase of what a console was capable of. They were known for having the best visuals in the industry, pushing graphical fidelity to the max. And I feel like Final Fantasy XVI is a return to form. The environments shown off have all been so detailed and gorgeous, with breathtaking vistas. The fire and water effects all look fantastic. I have no idea if the game has ray tracing, but the reflections and lighting in the water looked really good. Even a small detail like the water droplets on Clive's face and in his hair blew me away. But the game isn't all graphical fidelity. The art direction is also incredible. That shot of the city with the towering crystal in the background left me stunned. That is graphics and art design coming together, and that's how I felt every time a new location was shown off, just blown away by how good it all looked. So, I know a big question that has been raised was, how much of an actual RPG will this be? And the presentation showed us that they did not forget that Final Fantasy is and always will be an RPG first. So, Clive has an extensive-looking ability board, and every ability can be upgraded multiple times. The player seems to have a lot of agency with how they decide to build Clive. And if you can't decide where you want to put the points, you can always let the computer do it for you. Sort of like weapon upgrades in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, being an RPG, there's also a variety of equipment and items to buy, and every item also has a detailed description behind it. Kind of like when you play a From Software game. Gear can also be upgraded at the blacksmith, adding even more RPG elements to this RPG. So, narrative and characters are also a staple of any good RPG, and there are two NPCs in 16 that help players to keep on track. That makes me think that the story will have a lot going on. Anyways, those NPCs are Hippocrates and Vivian. Hippocrates is the NPC that helps Clive learn more about the lore of the world, and he does this by letting us read his tomes on various topics. And then there's Vivian, who keeps you updated on the state of the realm. She shows you how all the characters are connected, as well as events that are happening all around the world. So yeah, I think the fact that these NPCs exist might be an inkling to just how much depth there will be with the lore, characters, and narrative. So another big part of RPGs are side quests, and it looks like there will be a lot of side quests to do. I just hope that they add to the lore and aren't just a bunch of collect X amount of stuff or kill Y amount of creatures. Now, even though I say that, and hope it's the case, I'll still wind up doing every single one of them. So there's also a hunt board, something that we've seen in many FF games before. Hunts have always been one of my favorite bits of side content to do, and with this combat system, I think that these will be some of the best yet. Now, what really put a smile on my face was when you find the creature, you get this really awesome transition. It feels very arcadey, and I mean that in the best of ways. And I think it goes without saying that the combat looks fantastic. Better and better every time I see it. So this combat is fast-paced and intense, the combos look amazing, and smoothly transition from one to the other, and I can tell that there's going to be a ton of depth here. Another huge win is that it's very stylish. I guess that's not too surprising, since it's all being designed by the Capcom veteran behind Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma. Now, something that caught me by total surprise was just how deep the training mode is. I wasn't expecting to see that many options there, and I think it will be a fantastic way to learn to play better. Like, say you want to practice combos. You can choose an enemy to spawn, shut off its aggro, make it invincible, and then beat on it until you've mastered your combo. Or say you want to learn how to dodge better. You can make Clive invincible, spawn the enemy you want to practice against, turn on the aggro, and dodge to your heart's content. And that was just some of the ways that players could use the training mode to improve. Like I said, there was a ton of options in there. The last thing with combat is the icon battles, which they showed a lot more than I was expecting, and it was all stunning. There were two specifically that got me really hyped up: the icon battle using Phoenix, and the encounter against Titan. So when you control Phoenix, you are basically playing Panzer Dragoon. The Phoenix segment was an on-rail shooter where you had to dodge and blow up projectiles while firing away at the boss. It looked awesome and like a ton of fun. And then there was Titan, which looked insane. I was literally getting goosebumps when we saw Clive running across Titan's massive arm, breaking away all those obstacles while dodging his attacks. It looked like a really fun auto-scroller, and it was just so epic. Like, I don't even care if these segments turn out to be easy, or are shallow compared to the normal combat, because they look really cool, they have a lot of spectacle, and sometimes that's all you really need. Now, a minor concern I've seen is the enemies seem to have a lot of HP, and I can see that as being a double-edged sword. You want all the enemies to have enough HP so that you can make full use of all the different systems in place and all of your abilities, but it's also not very fun when every enemy takes forever to kill. It's kind of hard to tell from the presentation. Maybe they were fighting really tough enemies, maybe they were underleveled or undergeared. I think when the demo finally drops, we'll have a much better idea. Now, something that made my ears instantly perk up was the mention of the endgame. So, when I hear the endgame, I think of super challenging boss encounters that will push your skills to the limit. Maybe even some optional dungeons and areas that are full of the most dangerous enemies, and of course, the best gear and accessories in the game. At least, that's what I'd hope for. So, the last thing that I wanted to mention was, this is M-rated. And this is the first mainline Final Fantasy game to get such a rating, which I think is pretty exciting. And not just because they can show more blood and gore, which would make the battles that much more gritty. What I am excited to see is what they can do with the narrative. In Final Fantasy XIV, even with a teen rating, they got away with some really dark stuff. What can they do when they aren't restricted by the rating? Anyways, June 22nd can't get here soon enough. I usually try to tamper my expectations, but I fully trust the team here, and I think this will easily be my game of the year. So that will be all for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend, and until next time, bye!